Well, I'll just read all 9 of the blessings of Jesus ben Sirach. Blessed is the man who meditates on wisdom and reason. Blessed is the man, blessed is very King Jamesian of me. Blessed is the man who has acquired understanding and prudence. Blessed is the man who speaks with a gentle tongue. Blessed is the man who has not fallen away in temptation. Blessed is the man who has not been afflicted by poverty. Do you see, these seems kind of shallow, like, blessed is the man who loses weight for he can fit in his pants. It's like, doesn't this just seem so common sense? Blessed are the, hey, guess what? If you don't have to deal with poverty, good on you. And this is wisdom teaching, right? These types of teaching. So blessed is the man who has found a true friend. Yes. Blessed is the man who has not slipped with his tongue. Blessed is the man who has not served a master who is unworthy of him. Blessed is the man who has found wisdom and who reflects on her ways. These are really true statements. These are like obvious statements that you can't disagree with. The thing is, what do you mean by blessed? Now, in this context, blessed would have always meant in right standing with the one who blesses. In this way, God. You're in right standing with God. Now, it's very easy to take these teachings and say, well, let's turn them around to go, hey, so blessed is the man who's not been afflicted by poverty. So you're in right standing with God if you're not in poverty. Does that mean if I am in poverty, I'm not in right standing with God? This is my problem with prosperity doctrine. Because you can't say it one way without it meaning the other. Now, who were the people that Jesus was talking to? The marginalized, the poor, the sick. Because if you listen to this, Jesus has 2 messages that's very clear. One, what does he say to the people who aren't following him? Because what he does here, as we see in the gospel, or in Matthew, Jesus approaches these 2 fishermen and he says, hey, follow me. And what did they do? They followed him. Right? He goes to 2 other fishermen. He says, hey, follow me. And what do? They followed him. Then he goes to the masses and he heals. And what do? They follow him. So if you notice in your circle of things that you drew the line, the disciples are those who follow him. So now he's got a whole new message for those who are following him. His message to those who aren't following him is, follow me. And that's it. Full stop. Follow me. Then to those who are following him, he says, now, the kingdom. There's a new kingdom. And it doesn't fit with your old kingdom. And so instead of these obvious statements that would make the elite feel justified in their eliteness, he starts to say something to them, and imagine what these marginalized people would have heard. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. You can circle poor in spirit and draw it to the disciples who followed him, who were, and then that whole first sentence you circled was poor in spirit. Blessed are you. And then he gives what typical blessed statements don't give. He gives a reason. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What he's saying to these marginalized people is, this kingdom is for you. You matter. No one's going to these marginalized people and saying, hey, what's your wisdom on who's right with God? No one's asking them. And then it says, the next one says, blessed are those who mourn, for they'll be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they'll inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they'll be filled. Let's start with the hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. You know that hunger, that thirst? There's a thirst. I like how Johnny shared about his crucible moment. If you were here for that sermon, when you are in a position where you don't have enough food and water, you hunger and thirst. And your primary objective becomes food and water. Food and water, food and water, food and water. So if you hunger and thirst for righteousness, that means you're seeing a world appropriately that says there's a lack of righteousness. There's a lack of blessedness. There's a lack of people who are living in this new kingdom. And I hunger and thirst for this righteousness. That means your heart has been transformed to value the kingdom and esteem the kingdom of heaven greater than all things. Because if it wasn't transformed, you would not be hungering and thirsting for righteousness. So in that, you are blessed because your heart has been transformed. Now, in your hunger and thirst for righteousness, you're going to live this out in a way where you actually have love and compassion for your enemies, and you're going to have the strength to be meek. So blessed are those who are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. And when you see that there's not a hunger or not righteousness in the world around you, when someone you love is unnecessarily struggling with depression or anxiety or trauma or addiction or something, you see they're not believing in the kingdom of heaven. You'll mourn. You may have someone in your life that you see right now that I wish they would believe they are who God says they are. And you mourn. And the promise is you'll be comforted. The next one says, blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil things against you because of me. So imagine who Jesus was talking to. And he was saying to them, you are blessed because you are in the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is yours.